So we start with a space. Maybe a theater, but on the other hand, maybe not. Maybe a church, maybe a warehouse, maybe even someplace outside if there's power for the lights. Wherever it is, there are a few platforms scattered around, different sizes and different heights and shapes. Some of them have musical instruments and places for musicians on them, and some of them are empty, waiting for actors. There's some masks hanging around at different places, again, waiting for actors. And on either side, there's old theater trunks with props and bits and pieces of costumes, nothing fancy or elaborate, just suggestions. When the time for the opening begins, the actors and the musicians begin to drift onto the stage and check out things and to make sure things are ready for the show to start. And it's very casual. The musicians should just be in their regular street clothes, and the actors should be in rehearsal garb. And as for the actors, from now on I'll be calling the actors the revelers. And as for how many there are, it depends on the size that you want. It works fine with just 4 people as long as they're good singers. But the original Broadway production had 12 revelers, and there was a production in Kyoto in Japan a few years back at a college that had 80 revelers, but I don't think I would necessarily recommend that many. Anyway, when everything is ready, the narrator comes in, takes his place, the revelers gather around beside him. He gives a signal to the light booth, and we lose the house lights, and the stage lights come up, and he says to the audience, in ancient days, in winter, when the sun kept sinking lower in the sky, men started to wonder if it could die. Look, they said, the day is being eaten by the night. Look, they said, the darkness is devouring the light. And they were frightened. And he sings, some people say that today is the day when the cold will come and never go away. And it may be so, I just don't know. All I know is up until we have to go, I want to celebrate every day. And the rhythm keeps going as he says, and so the people gathered by the fire. They drank and sang and made up plays. They painted their faces, and in the blaze they waited, hoping for a sign. And the revelers sing with him. Some people say that tonight is the night when the bird will fly and eat away the light. And it may be so, I just don't know. All I know is up until we have to go, I want to celebrate every day. And he says, we're like those ancient people in a way. We've gathered by the fire to do a play. Our night is dark like theirs. Our world is cold. Our hopes seem frozen underneath the snow. And yet, if you will just assist us with your imagination, we'll try to make this humble space a place for celebration. And they all sing a kind of rousing last chorus, ending with something deep inside says, beneath the snow, there's a tiny seed and it's gonna grow. I want to celebrate every day. And at the end of the number, the narrator says, now imagine, if you will, a winter, cold, so cold that almost no one ventures forth among the snow. Outside the city, in a farm that seems deserted, a young boy sets out upon a quest. And the orphan boy, we see him make his way towards the city through this blizzard, singing the song, Orphan in the Storm. It's New Year's Eve, and when he gets to the city, the revelers are drunken and wild, and some of them holding up placards on poles with large, threatening city faces as they mock him and revile him and threaten to steal from him, and as they sing, mess around with your virginity. A notable lyric. And at the end of that number, there's a kind of applause at the side, and the narrator comes out now dressed as a very ragged bum, and he says, "Oh, poor little orphan in the storm." And the orphan says, "Who are you?" "Allow me to introduce myself. My card." And the boy says, "Please help me. I am blind." "Oh, sorry, wrong card. I'm only blind in the summer, in the dog days. Here, try this one. Potemkin, Alexander J. the Great Potemkin, at your service." "Those are nice shoes." "Oh, yes. There's a good 5, maybe 6 years left in those shoes yet." "Oh. And the scarf, what an interesting design." "Ah. And let's see, what have we got inside the bag?" "A Bible, and toilet paper. Uh-huh. And what is this in this little jar? A seed?" And the boy says, "It's the sun." "The what?" "I mean, it has the secret of the sun saved up inside it." "Oh, I see." Boy, can I pick 'em. You see, I'm an orphan. Wait a minute. Are you going to tell me the story of your life? Yes. Is it long or short? It's in between. That's too long. Can you make it a little shorter? Sure you can. And as you're doing that, I'll just check out the rest of the bag. And the boy says, "Well, I was left on the doorstep of a farm when I was a baby, on New Year's Eve, in fact. And there was no note or anything, just a little funny party hat and one of those noisemakers. And the elderly couple who ran the farm thought it must be some sort of joke. But if it was a joke, the joke was on me, because nobody ever came to claim me." Could you make it a little faster? "Oh, yes, yes. Well, I grew up working on the farm, and then recently a man named Rich, who is very rich, came and bought the property, and he's planning to turn it into a shopping mall. And so I've come to the city to try to get it back. He's having a fabulous New Year's Eve party." All right, I got it. "When do we start?" "We? Well, have you ever been to a fabulous New Year's Eve party?" "No." Who makes the first toast? Host or guest of honor?" "Well, I guess." No guessing. To guess is to hesitate, and to hesitate is to faux pas. Faux pas? It's a Russian expression. It means fuck up. How do you know how to get into a fabulous New Year's Eve party and celebration? What you need, little orphan, is somebody older, wiser, more experienced in the ways of the wicked world. You, smart boy. And Potemkin sings, "I've been everything that a man can be, from aristocrat to bum. I've learned every trick of the beggar's trade. Why, I've even invented some. I've soared to the heights. I've sunk to the depths. And here's how I stay alive. When faced with a choice, I say to myself, Potemkin, my friend, survive, just survive. Sometimes at night, when it is dark, I spot a pigeon in the park. And then I croon, coo-roo-coo-coo, won't you join me in a pigeon stew? Sometimes at day, When people pass, I eat my pride and kiss their ass. Down on my knees, kind sir, I squeak. Won't you kindly kick the other cheek? Time and time again to myself I say, stand up like a man, change the world today. Fight for what is right, die heroically. Then I start to think how messy death must be. So come with me, and I will show you all the crooked tricks I know. We'll steal and cheat, and we'll connive, but it's worth it all if we survive. And the revelers put on masks of the decadent rich, and they sing another chorus with them, with him. Excuse me, I'm gonna have a drink of water. As they all make their way to Mr. Rich's fabulous party. And inside his mansion, it's dark and gloomy and mysterious, and the boy kneels. And Potemkin says, what are you doing? I'm praying. Oh, come on, what are you trying to do? Embarrass me? Come on, get up off your knees. Kid, that jig is up. No, there is no heaven. There is no hell. There are no little lady angels hovering in the sky. What are you looking at? There's a little lady angel hovering in the sky. What? Oh my God. And there she is in white with a halo and wings. She's standing there and she says, excuse me, have either of you seen Satan or the Devil Girls? The Devil Girls? They have little sparkly tails and whips. Or do you know how I can get down from here? And the boy says, can't you fly with your wings? Oh, no, this is a breakaway costume. I'm supposed to be a fallen angel. Look, I'll show you. She pulls a string and the angel outfit drops off and she's got a little red bikini and pasties and sparkly and little, instead of the halo, little horns. She says, spectacular, huh? I'm supposed to be part of the entertainment for New Year's Eve, but I got stuck up at this platform. So they persuade her, they offer to help her get down. She comes off the platform into the boy's arms. And she looks at him and she says, what are you blushing about? And he says, and she says, oh, my body, do you like it? And he says, very much. Oh, that's wonderful. You know, for a young actress, having a good body is half the battle. You notice my breasts, they have a tendency to be a little smallish. I get that from my mother. But I work out every evening in the gym. I do 25 presses, and I think they turned out all right. Don't you? He said, they're beautiful. Oh, really? Gee, that's wonderful. And what about my color? Did you notice that? My agent wants me to bill myself as the Golden Goddess, but I don't know. It sounds kind of pushy to me. And she looks at him and she says, you've got a nice face. Really? Oh, sure. Nice teeth, good complexion, kind of a goofy smile. They don't like for juveniles to be too handsome anymore. Oh, I've got to go. It's my cue. And he says, will I see you later? She says, I don't know. Are you somebody? Potemkin says, no, in the way she means, you're nobody. And she says, oh, I'm sorry. But I can't waste my time on somebody who's nobody because of my career. And she joins the Devil Girls, who are also in little spangly things, and they have whips, and they do a dance to a number. I've got to be somebody. She sings, and they sing. Why should I sit home alone at night, shaken by some broken radiator, when I could be up there in the light, shaken on the stage of some theater? I'm going to be somebody, so everyone will be my slave. Whip, whip, ooh, 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 whip, whip. Ooh, you get a little choreography on this one at no extra charge. Anyway, then we meet the fourth person who is part of this story, Mr. Rich. William Rosebud Rich. He's the richest man in the Western world, but he's very unhappy. He's bored out of his gourd, and he can't feel anything anymore. As he says, he hasn't laughed in 25 years, he hasn't cried in 25 years, he hasn't been aroused in 25 years, he hasn't felt anything in almost a quarter of a century. So Potemkin brings the boy, and Rich finds this orphan boy kind of fascinating, and Potemkin gets the boy to sing a song, a very simple, beautiful song about his garden, and Rich finds himself moved by it, and he makes all the others sing it again and again, and then at the end of it he says, "Oh my God, I stand back. I think I'm about to feel something." And they go, "Ooh," and he says, wait a minute," and there's a little plink, and he says, "Look, a tear," and they're all amazed, and he says, "Oh, quick, somebody do something, it's evaporating." And Potemkin says, here's a plastic bag, and he says, "No, you dumbbell, you can't package a teardrop. Get an icebox, maybe we can freeze it. Icebox. And he says, "Oh, it's too late. My one tear, and you let it get away." And then he turns to the boy and he says, "Who are you anyway? What special power have you got that you can make me feel?" He says, "Oh, wait a minute. Now I know. Now I know who you remind me of." "Who?" "Me." And the boy says, "You?" "Yes, me, 30 years ago. I know what's happening. I'm seeing my whole life pass in front of my eyes. Oh, God, it's pathetic. Give me that spotlight." And they do. "Give me some music." And they start playing. And he says, 30 years ago, I was poor, like him. I didn't have a nickel, but still, I was a happy man. When the sun come up, I said, "Hello, sun." I was a dancer in the morning sunlight and a laugher in the afternoon. What happened? I'll tell you what happened. I came out in the world, that's what happened. I thought the thought, I played the game, I became a millionaire. Look at this. What is it? It's falsies, women's bosoms. Go on, touch it, feel that spring, that texture. That's how I made my first million, on falsies. Then I expanded, I got into artificial limbs, glass eyes, false teeth, and then artificial fruits and flowers. You made a flower? Did I make a flower? Look at this. Look at that stamen, that cute little pistil. You had a garden. How long did your flowers last? One spring and summer too. All right, one spring and summer. Look at this, kid. I bang it on the floor. I jump up and down on top of it. I bite it. It's still as good as new. Listen to this. You can use this flower on the day you get married, and they can use the same one on the day they shovel you under. How is that for a bargain? It doesn't smell. You want smells? I make an artificial smell, artificial flower smells. Psst, psst, psst. But that's when I began to, I made everything, he says, and everything I made money. And that's when I began to have the spells. The hours started whizzing by. I'd look down the piece of paper and it would be 6 hours later. Or I'd pick up the newspaper and it'd be 2 weeks later. Or I'd lay out my summer wardrobe and the snow would start to fall, and then it got faster and faster. And then one day I went into the bathroom and, oh my God, there was somebody there I didn't recognize. Some horrible old fool with a sagging, bloated body and jowls and bloodshot eyes and a varicose nose. That's when I had the mirrors covered up, and I've never looked at one since. And then he says, oh, you should have seen me, what I was. I was Father Time's sweet, darling, golden little boy. And he sings, once upon a time, not so long ago, I was quite a boy, a Romeo. Once upon a couch, excuse me, I had to interrupt. Musicalics interrupt us. Once upon a couch or in a canoe, oh, the naughty things I used to do. Oh, what a line I had, what daring, what results my little nursery maid, the scoutmaster's wife. That was a merit badge, all right. The girls' hockey team from Bennington, Vermont, those Siamese twins from faraway Peru. Where did it go? Oh, oh, that fabulous parade of maidens that I made. Where did it pass? Ass, ass, those many scenes of tender splendor in the grass. Where did it fly? Aye, aye, those endless one-night stands, those ever-ready glands. Where could it be? Where could it be? I can't believe this beast I see is really me. I'm 23. And he keeps going to the end of the song, which is a nice kind of bitter ending. And a very big, then where did it go? Where the hell did the whole thing go, 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 go? Where in the hell did it go? And then, amidst the tumultuous applause, we hope, he says, addio, and he collapses. Potemkin says, get him upstairs, and the revelers say, I'll be there in a minute. And so he's left with the boy and the girl, and he says to the audience, so what's going on here? Is this a comedy or isn't it? One thing I can tell you, whatever it is, it's very symbolic. And he says, what is a comedy anyway? Yeah, just a couple of jokes, slip on a banana peel. You know, some people think that real comedy always ends with the promise of sexual union. Me, I don't know. I think comedy's when you laugh. But one thing I do know is you gotta have a happy ending. You want a comedy, get yourself a happy ending. So he figures out that the girl wants to be somebody, the boy wants his garden back, his farm, and the old man wants to feel young again. And he figures he can mix all that together if he gets the boy and girl to pretend they're falling in love and to sing a love song. The old man might get aroused, and he says, if he gets aroused, you can have anything you want. So he goes up, and as he watches with a revived Mr. Rich up above, the boy and girl sing a love song. There's a nice little, I know I'm taking too much time, but there's a nice little moment. I'm going to indulge myself. Before they sing, the girl looks at the boy and she says, you know any love songs? And he says, no. Never been in love? No. She says, it's a shame though, in a way. What is? You and me. I mean, yeah, we got something going on here. I could feel it right away. But what's the point? I mean, nothing can come of it. We're too different. You grew up green, like in a garden, like in the grocery section at the supermarket. But my life wasn't like that. I grew up gray. I lived in a gray house, and I had a gray mother and a gray father, and I went to a gray high school, and I studied Gray's Anatomy so I could be a gray little nurse's assistant all my dull gray life. Well, I'm not gonna do it. I mean, maybe I'm not the golden goddess like my agent says, but I'm gonna be the golden something. And Potemkin says, do the love song. And they do, and Rich begins to get aroused, has a little counter melody. Slowly growing, something deep inside is slowly tickling me, inside my thighs, it's tickling me. And the number builds, Potemkin singing Con Amore and all of this schmaltzy stuff, and the boy and the girl, and then Rich sings with them, and then the chorus, and it's a huge big ending. And at the very end, Rich says, I see it, flowers bursting into bloom, the world turning green, and look, a young girl reaching out her arms to me. Potemkin says, reach out your arms. And she does, and they're covered with diamonds. She says, ooh. And Rich says, we're going to go to the Great Hall and welcome in the new year there. We're going to have a pageant. And then at the highlight, they're going to call out woman, and you step out dressed as Eve. And she says, Eve? You mean like in the Bible? Yes. And then they call out man, and I step out, and then she says, yes, and then what? He says, I've got a surprise for you. And he grabs her, and they all go off with the revelers, singing and dancing for the countdown to New Year's, leaving Potemkin alone. And he says to the audience, he says, you know, when I was a magician working carnivals and tent shows, I never had a big number. I mean, I could do prophecies, occasional levitation, but I dreamed of sawing a lady in half. I worked on that number for 10 years, 26 different partners, and I learned something that I thought this would be a good time to pass it on to you. You can saw and saw all you want to, but you never know how the trick has turned out till you see the second half. And he gives a sign, and we go to the intermission. And so that's where I'm going to stop. I've gone past my allotted time anyway. And I will tell you, if you want to read it, you can reach out to Music Theater and you can get the script. But the really great news is that Harbinger Records has just recently put out a remastered CD of the original cast album. And it's so much better than the original LP. I don't know how they did it, but somehow it has the sound, the exciting sound of being in the theater itself. And you can't tell from my singing, but it's a lovely score. And it has interesting orchestration, all percussion, no horns, no strings. And that is available through Amazon. So if this interests you at all, check that out. I think you'll enjoy having that CD. And anyway, I thank you for taking the time. I'm sorry it went a little past my usual time, but anyway, thanks.